Welcome, everyone, to the DeVory Darkins Show. It is November 26th, this Wednesday, and Thanksgiving is almost here. Can't wait for it. But listen, yesterday was all about corruption, right? So today is all about culture, okay? There's plenty of stuff happening that, in my opinion, continues to show that wokeness is not dead, particularly this this sporting event where the world's strongest women were competing, and they all lost to a biological male. Yes, you heard me correctly. So we're going to get into that. And out of all places, you know where this was located? Arlington, Texas. All right, so that's going to be interesting. Also, Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, just passed a law regarding or banning the discrimination against people's hair. And when I say people, we're really talking about black people. So I think it's fitting that we might end this show with that particular subject. But if you're new here, this is all about common sense commentary for these uncommon times. Most of the time we get into the politics and some of the top stories. And I always find myself seeking to talk about culture, but I never get around to doing it. So that's what this show is dedicated to doing today. And this big item definitely, I think, was part of this prior election that we had, which is about common sense. Why would someone encourage the idea that a biological male can compete in a female sport? I think this is a person who suffers from suicidal empathy. I think this is a person who lacks common sense. I think this is a person who is dangerous, especially if they're in a position to implement policies. And so we're going to get into all of that. Now, if you guys find any value during today's show, the best way to support every single time is to like, share, and subscribe. We're on YouTube, X, Facebook, and Rumble. All right, so I want to show you guys this summary of what happened yesterday, because this is craziness. This is actually being reported by Fox News. Take a look.
Controversy at this year's World's Strongest Woman competition in Arlington, Texas. Female athletes and coaches expressing outrage after the title was initially awarded to American Jamie Booker. Booker's title has now been stripped. Why? This statement from the official strongman games, quote, "It appears that an athlete who is biologically male and who now identifies as female competed in the women's open category. The runner-up, Andrea Thompson, has now been crowned champion."
I know you guys heard exactly what he just said. So you have this event for women who want to be the strongest in the world competing against each other, and they lose to a biological male. By default, that's already problems, okay? And I'm not too sure I have to go into depth about why that is on a scientific level or biological level. I think we all understand, okay, men shouldn't be competing against women, and I'll prove it to you. If a woman can fight against a man, who's going to win most of the time? In hand-to-hand combat, at their peaks, who will win most of the time? Okay, it's going to be a male. When the cops show up, who do they arrest most of the time? It's the male. There's a reason for that, okay? It's fascinating that this is even a debate. You know, it's even a conversation, and it's still continuing to happen. It's quite fascinating to me. But why don't I show you the actual footage where he is being crowned, and then I want you to pay attention to the runner-up. So the runner-up is pissed. She ends up saying this is bullshit. Excuse my language. And so she's to the left of this man on the footage. Let me play that now for you guys. Yeah, she's pissed. She's pissed. Let me play it one more time so you guys could see it. Look at the lady on the left. She's out. She's out. She's like, what is going on? And what's fascinating is some people on the left will downplay that reaction and say, oh, well, you know, it's okay. We need to be inclusive. You know, we need to cater to people's feelings. And it's interesting. They cater only to the feelings of a male who's playing in a female sport, but they don't cater to the female emotion. I don't understand how that works exactly. See, if you're using basic logic and just asking questions, you'll poke a hole in this every single time, which is, again, at the basic level of science, who has the competitive advantage, a man or a woman? Okay, So it's really fascinating. Now, let me pull this up because they did make a statement, as you heard from Fox News, but I want to read a little bit of it because their excuse is they were unaware, okay, key word, they were unaware of what was happening, okay, that this person was a man, and we all know that's really just a lie at the end of the day to cover their tracks, because these organizations do not know what taking responsibility truly looks like. Let me pull this up for you guys here. All right. So what do we have? Well, the name, as you guys see here, is Jamie Booker, and was disqualified and stripped. And according to the statement here, if I just make sure you guys can see this properly, give us a second here. And we'll just zoom out. There we go. All right. Given this, we have disqualified the athlete in question from the official Strongman World Championships 2025. All athlete points and places will be altered accordingly to ensure that the rightful places are allocated to each of the women's open athletes. The official Strongman World Championships is an event which is rightfully one of the pinnacles of the strength world. Let's just stop there. If it's one of the pinnacles, why are you guys not verifying people's sex? Okay, it's easy. We are disappointed on behalf of all those who are fairly and legitimately took part that the attention has been taken away from their efforts, which deserve celebration no matter how they performed or where they finished. We stand with them and stand with fairness. Okay. The problem is we live in a world today where being fair is called racist. Being fair is you're going to be called a bigot. Being fair, I mean, at some point they call you a white supremacist, I mean, or a right-wing extremist, right? I mean, these people have been coddled so much to the point where being fair is unfair to them. We're telling them the objective truth hurts their feelings, and so you shouldn't tell them the truth. That's the world we live in today. I'm telling you guys, you know, if we do the process of elimination, if Democrats get back in power, okay, they will go 10x on this stuff, okay? Because at this point, they're in charge. Listen, Joe Biden, just so we're all understanding, Joe Biden was never a progressive hack, okay? The people around him were. That guy didn't believe in half the stuff he was saying. But because clearly there was some mental stuff going on with him, and, you know, at the end of the day, the president is just really a figurehead, there was a lot of people around him pushing this woke stuff. And he wasn't going to push back on them. He was enjoying the fact that he became the president. So we have to make sure that in all of this doomer and complaining that we understand what the alternative is. The alternative is this times 10, okay? They only were able to scratch the surface under the Biden administration. Imagine if they're in power for 8 years, okay? So just keep that in your mind. Now, and not only should you keep it in your mind, but the administration should keep it in their mind, because if the president doesn't follow through on some of these things, like holding people accountable, making sure they land in prison, and changing laws like voter ID, etc., maybe it's just inevitable, okay? At any rate, I want to read a couple of these comments because they're really good. Excellent. Good for Strongman Games World Championships for doing the either thing. Great job shining sunlight on all of this. And this is the actual photo of the winner. I mean, she's just pissed, as you guys can see. And here's the one that I want to highlight here on the right. It says, I appreciate them doing the right thing, but claiming, quote, we were unaware is absurd when any normal person knows straight away that it's a dude. And this was actually the beginning of the particular statement. It says it appears that an athlete who is biologically male, who now identifies as a female, competed in the women's open category. And then they go on to say that had we been aware, or had this been declared at any point before or during the competition, this athlete would not have been permitted to compete in the women's open category. Okay, so that's all a bunch of bull, because they could obviously verify all that. Okay, let's go to the reaction on TikTok. One is from Jamie Booker himself, and then another one is from a person defending Jamie, or I want to know what the biological name is. Is it James? It probably is, right? Let's watch this.
One of the really depressing things about this Jamie Booker situation at the World's Strongest Man official strongman games. Jamie Booker, very popular on TikTok, has been revealed to be a trans woman. She won World's Strongest Woman by 1 point, pretty much in the prime of her athletic life at 28. And the woman who came second was 43, has not won World's Strongest Woman since 2018. And all of the commentary that I've seen from it has been people saying how unfair it was that this poor 43-year-old strong woman athlete had the title stolen from her, and how good it is that Jamie Booker's now been disqualified and had her gold trophy taken away from her and given back to this woman. And it's just disgusting. It's just disgusting how cis people who know full well that an older woman has been beaten here by a younger woman who worked her fucking ass off, who scraped a win. And Jamie Booker is, so far as anyone can tell now, probably the strongest trans woman that exists on the planet in a really small sport. And
Okay, let's just cut her off. I've been saying this from the very beginning. Let's exercise common sense. You want trans women, which really are men, to compete? Just make a trans league, okay? If you want it that bad, you want representation that bad, you want acknowledgement that bad, then just create a trans league. At least you wouldn't be infringing on the rights of females, okay? Because it's interesting how they say, well, we don't want you telling us how to live our lives. We don't want you telling me that I'm a male or I'm a female, but they can do it the other way around, which is they can take their gender dysphoria, really is what it is, and obviously impress that upon our minds, our policies, our rules. I'm not understanding that. This is the mistake they made from the very beginning. They should not have allowed men to play in women's sports. They should have just created another league. Nobody would be saying anything. And the people who'd be saying something, it's their right to say it, but it wouldn't really go anywhere because they're not violating the rights of others. A woman has a right to go into a locker room and obviously not be feel unsafe or have to question whether or not that is a dude standing next to her, etc. And there's been plenty of cases, whether it was in the prison, whether it was at the high school level, whether it was in a professional level, where there was a dude in a locker room and the woman felt harassed, okay? And again, it's interesting how they're quick, okay, to run to a woman who says she's been harassed by her male boss, but when it comes to a trans woman who might have harassed them, they got nothing to say. I find that interesting. We're going to get to Eric Swalwell because, again, this guy, he doesn't even have an answer to this, and I hope you guys know this by now, but he is running to be the next governor of California. And according to the latest polls, and we'll show you that too, he has a great chance to become the nominee and obviously win. So, but before we get to Eric Swalwell, I want to show you this TikTok from the person who won this competition and his reaction to the strongest man in the world.
So women don't get a whole lot of respect or appreciation or payment in this sport, you know, strongman / strongwoman in my case. But apparently what we do get is more TikTok followers. I have like 40,000 more TikTok followers than the world's strongest man. In fairness, he has way more Instagram followers than I do, but that's weird, right? How... You guys like me a lot, I guess.
No, you're weird, okay? You're weird for even comparing yourself. You know, I was recently on the Fresh and Fit podcast, this whole podcast where these OnlyFans girls go on, and etc. And there's been something that I continue to see in our society, and some of you guys will call me a, what is that? A misogynist, I think is the proper term. I mean, there's so many labels today, so I guess just pick one. Isn't it fascinating how you see certain women talk to men today? They speak to men as if they're going to go hand-to-hand combat with them. It's fascinating. I've seen this in so many areas of our society. I just can't for the life of me understand why women today believe it's appropriate to speak to men this way. It's because they have been led to believe that they're equal to men in so many different ways, or at a minimum, better than men. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm against women. I think we are opposite of the same coin. I think we should be complementing each other. I think women have gifts and talents that men don't have, vice versa. And if we would understand each other and work together and complement each other, we could do great things. The problem is women today, they're being programmed to believe that they are men. They can make more money than men. They can run a business better than men. And now they can compete better than men. It just doesn't make any sense. It goes counter to the biological design that God has laid out himself, and it is perfect. That doesn't mean people won't be confused. That doesn't mean you're going to have 1 out of a million births where there's some type of, issue with the gender, etc. These things exist. I'm talking about the generalities here. Okay. And what they try to do to program women today is, if you go back to 1960, women were oppressed. It's the same thing they try to do with black people today. Black people were oppressed. They're still telling us that today. And the reality is it's a mind game. It's a programming. It's a propaganda. And if you were to look at the reality, you'd find that it's so far from the truth. A male who wants to be a female is confused. Okay, confused mentally, confused emotionally. Question is, where did they get the idea that they could become a female? It's very simple. Where do we get all of our ideas? From society, from the education system, from social media predominantly. So you've got all these ideas floating around in the ether, and people see them, and when they get exposed to them, they start thinking and reasoning, and some people just accept it as truth. See, a great example at the basic level, I assume everybody watching, your first language is English. Okay, this is the basic example of programming and being a product of your environment. Your first language is English. Now, do any of you guys speak Mandarin? Would any of you guys know what Mandarin even sounds like? Would anybody really know what Ukrainian language sounds like? Okay, why am I saying all this? Well, because if you took DeVory when he was 1 year old and you placed him in Beijing, China, or Shanghai, China, DeVory would be fluent in Mandarin. Why? Because that's the idea he was exposed to at a young age through repetition. He heard people speaking about Mandarin. He learned about Mandarin in school. He read Mandarin billboards and signage when he's walking down the street. So, of course, when he becomes an adult, he's fluent. Why are people fluent with gender dysphoria? Because they read it in a book, they go to school and they hear it from the teacher, they go on TikTok and they see it, and it's just a repetition of the same idea. That's why people are eating this stuff up. This is why I'm strongly against kids under the age of 18 having cell phones. They don't need cell phones. Well, I need to get in contact with them. How did they get in contact with this 30 years ago? They didn't need a cell phone. What are you talking about? You don't need a cell phone. You don't need a cell phone. And quite frankly, as adults, we don't even need our cell phones as much as we think we do. I'm telling you that it's a gift and a curse. The cell phone has allowed us to communicate with anyone, anywhere, at any time. No question. Beautiful gift. But it's also a beautiful curse. And the curse is there are ideas floating on platforms like TikTok, Instagram, doesn't matter what it is, telling people at a young age that, yes, you are a boy, but you can be a girl. And here's the other one. Hey, there is no such thing as boy or girl. Non-binary, make it up. It's mass confusion. And all it has to do is start at a small percentage of our population, and it grows. The problem is when it gets into politics and representatives are passing pieces of legislation to support this nonsense. That is a problem. So you want to live in your own gender dysphoria nonsense and you want to be confused about who you are, you can go right on ahead. But that doesn't mean our representatives should be creating laws to support that stuff. See, that's the problem. Remember, under the Biden administration, he was seeking to change Title IX language to allow men to play in women's sports. And the Supreme Court struck it down. So again, that's under the Biden administration, a guy who's not progressive, okay? By all accounts, the people around him are. So I said, process of elimination, they get back in power. What do you think they're going to try to do with Title IX again? This right here is going to be a normal thing, okay? All right, now, having said that, I want to get to Eric Swalwell because I just think it's too good. But before I do, I want to see what you guys have to say, because this is fascinating. All right, we're on Rumble right now. Shout out to Rumble. Thank you guys for joining us today. Preacher DeVory, best daily 2 hours on Rumble. Hey, I appreciate that. Thank you for the rant. Let me catch up with why are you guys talking about Candace Owens in my chat here? What does that got to do with what we were talking about here? What has changed from Adam and Eve, one man, one woman? I mean, what's changed is the information that people are eating up. That's what changed. Yeah, and again, this it's fascinating. I don't understand why they haven't created a trans league. Has there been a trans league created on anything? Get this. Even in the world of tennis, at the highest level, the professional level, they have a co-ed competition. Why is there not a trans league at this point? If the tennis has been doing this for decades on end, you'd think the people who truly believe in trans athletes and that trans women are women, you think they would have already advocated for a trans league. Why don't they do that? And why is it that usually 90% of the time it's a biological male competing in a biological female sport, but it isn't a biological female competing in a biological male sport? Can anybody answer that? It's interesting. It's interesting. I think I'm more likely to venture into the fact that maybe this is also a side effect of people raging against men overall. I mean, they have beaten men into this point of submission where now they just believe, hey, maybe I should just be a woman. I mean, maybe that's a part of it. I don't know. Let's keep going here. Yeah, I can't even have a trans bathroom. They freak out. Yeah, I heard about that too. And the whole bathroom situation is also common sense. I mean, if you were to go to an airport, for an example, you have a woman and a man restrooms, and then you have family restrooms. I mean, I don't understand why they just don't go into the family one, or the one that is marked as what is it? Is it ACA? I believe it is, for people who are in wheelchairs and stuff. Hey, DeVory, I try to catch your clips on YouTube, and this is, I think, my first time watching you live on Rumble. Hey, thank you so much, George. Appreciate you. Females are genetically weaker in strength compared to biological men. I have an ex-husband who's a woman now. Wow. Yeah. Oh, ADA. Thank you so much. ADA. Yeah, you know what's interesting? My wife, she had a home birth, and I had an epiphany after this, which was that women are not as strong as men when you're talking about raw strength, but they are just as strong when it comes to giving birth. I mean, that is that whole process is insane. Okay, and it's like a short period of time that feels like forever, and I think the problem is we get so caught up in this cultural war of men versus women that we just forget the basic common sense principles here, okay? And that we're allowing this woke ideology to confuse both of us, and really it's causing men and women to become enemies of each other when really we're not enemies. But when you hear stories like this, it's not helping. Okay. All right. Let me go over to YouTube, and then I got to get to Eric Swalwell, because this whole thing is interesting. Why didn't she compete in the men's division? See, that's what I don't understand. Oh, you mean why didn't he? Making a trans league would be the best idea. Let's see here. I can answer your question. Males have the anatomical and physiological advantage. Okay. Let's keep going. Will anyone cross the Rubicon? I think it's time. I've always said that a man was the one to give birth that would end there be no humans, and thank God for women's rights. I'm not reducing you to giving birth, but I could tell you men cannot give birth, and if they understood that type of pain, I'm sure they'd think twice. Let's see here. Yeah, God created us with our differences so that we could be a team. Yeah, it's just common sense, man. I don't, there is no high intellectual conversation around this because it's not needed. It's just basic biology, basic science. So get this. We're talking about something where scientifically, spiritually, they both are on the same page about this. There is no contradiction whatsoever. The contradiction only occurs, like I told you guys, when people start making up their ideas and then they're trying to infect the population with them through propaganda. That's what happened with this whole wave of feminism. In fact, they become so effective with this wave that they put so much energy into the term toxic masculinity in order to distract how toxic feminism has become, if you think about it. Listen, we're dealing with a political party that does not believe in men being in leadership positions. They also hate white men to begin with. And they think white men are broken. Okay, let's remind you of that. And then they think men should not be the leaders of their homes. And that women should prioritize everything except having a family and being married. That all comes after the fact. And the problem is they're setting up women to fail as far as their happiness is concerned. I was talking about this on the Fresh and Fit podcast. Why is it that 31% of women are clinically depressed? Not we think they are depressed. No, they went into the doctor and got a diagnosis for being clinically depressed. Why is that exactly? So it's because women are being exposed to propaganda in an effort to control the masses. That's exactly what's happening. And why is that relevant to what's happening here? Because it's the same damn method. It's the propaganda of challenging common sense and labeling common sense as bigotry, racist, all these ridiculous labels they like to come up with in these universities, okay? I'm not really a big believer in labels because when you really reduce it down to its basic principle, it's all the same stuff, which is one side is always thinking from a place of lack. They don't think they're good enough. They don't think the way the world is good enough. They think that the way God has made this universe is inherently flawed and that they should go in there and change it all around. Like at the very basic level, that's what their thought process is. And the fact of the matter is we are all an image of God himself. Okay? Spiritually perfect, by the way. So, and this is more my own personal beliefs, just so you guys understand. We are spiritual beings living in a physical body, and we've been given an intellect that has free will involved. This is why we have higher mental faculties. We can reason, which means I can decide what I believe to be true or false. We have a memory muscle. We have something called intuition. We have something called perception, right? I can change my point of view on something. Your dog at home does not have these mental faculties. Okay? A lion in the animal kingdom does not have mental faculties. They run strictly based off instinct. Now, why did God design us for us to, have this, right? Why is that? Well, I mean, he understands what he's doing, but I think more importantly, so we can understand our purpose here on this planet. And that's why we have to go through the ups and the downs. The problem is the devil is very effective at injecting these woke ideas into the minds of people at a very young age. Like if I was the devil and I wanted to end society as we know it, I would go after the children first. Get them at a young age. Change their environment. Because once you plant that idea in the mind of a child, it doesn't go away. This is why in your relationships, in your marriage, even in your career, what always comes up? It's the way you were brought up. That always ends up being a conflict, whether it's for good or bad. It's your upbringing that impacts your worldview. Unless you get your mindset in order by challenging your paradigm, challenging your belief system, and asking the basic question, where did I get this idea that I can be a girl? Who told me that exactly? What is that based on? Who said that? Where did I get the idea that if I am a woman in today's world that I can't be married and have a nice family and work from home? Who said I can't do that? Who said that doing that is oppression? Who gave us that idea? Who gave us the idea that all men are bad? See, when you start asking questions about where these ideas come from, you find out pretty quickly here that it's all a bunch of propaganda. It's not actually rooted in substance. Okay? All right. Let's go to Eric Swalwell at this point. This is him running for governor. It's a great point to put in here during this story of ours because he's being pressed by this woman who was at the Gold's Gym. This went viral, obviously. If you guys missed out on this woman was in Gold's Gym. There was a man in the gym, in the locker room where females are at, who obviously identifies as a trans woman, and was naked and staring at people, etc. And she felt uncomfortable. She complained about it, and Gold's Gym kicked her out. Yeah, isn't that fascinating? They don't even have the balls to do the right thing, right? Well, at any rate, she confronts Eric Swalwell at his campaign rally. Let's take a look at that now.
First, man, you asked the most emotionally poignant question. I want to start with you. I was a prosecutor in Oakland for 7 years, and where justice was warranted and mercy was warranted, I showed it. And where a stiff punishment was warranted because somebody got hurt, I saw it. And I will not be a governor that tolerates violence against women in our state. Period. That's not going to happen. Now, as it relates to the issue of
men,
trans kids,
men,
particularly in sports,
men,
sure,
in women's spaces, harassing,
yeah,
and you said it wasn't a thing.
Harassing,
14 times
yeah.
You said it wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
So I need you to show all the women of California that you're going to protect
yeah.
us.
I'm going to protect women. I
Women.
did as a prosecutor. I will protect women. No woman should be harassed.
Are there going to be men allowed in the women's room anymore? We need to know.
No woman should be harassed in a locker room. That's a crime.
Answer straight. Are there going to be women? Are you against men in women's locker rooms and sports? That's all you need to answer.
I'm telling you, I
Please.
don't want men harassing you in women's locker room.
I know.
That should not happen.
It's happening all around America. There are
I
45
also
women and men, there are 45 men in the women's prisons right now, raping them, picking them out like chickens. The trans men are not women, and they're raping women. So I don't care if you're on the Democrat side, the Republican side. We need to be on the women's side, people. It's happening to our girls. It's happening to our women. And I'm here to let everyone know that this is happening.
Okay. Look at him. This guy's like, oh man, now she's running things. Okay, number one, did you hear what he said? I will protect women. Now, who also said that? Let's think about that. Who said that during their election campaign? Oh yeah, that was Donald J. Trump. And when he said that, what did they do? Oh, who is he to say that he's going to protect women? Well, I guess they didn't like it. He said, I'm going to protect women whether they like it or not. Oh, man. You can't have it both ways. When a woman is getting beat up, mugged, robbed, or even raped, worst case scenario, and no one is there to protect her, then she goes out into the world and complains about it. You can't be that same person and say, well, we don't want men protecting us. Which one is it exactly? We should protect each other. If a homeless man was getting beat up by a group of kids, I would hope a woman or a man would jump in. And vice versa. I mean, it's craziness. I mean, we live in a world today where people are like this while a lady is being burned on the subway, right? People are like this when a lady is getting stabbed in her neck. And then when someone jumps in to protect these people, they get prosecuted, right? It's a violation of common sense at the highest level. Okay, it really is. All right, let's continue here.
First, man, you asked.
Open your eyes.
I'm telling you.
I have millions of people behind me, black people, who they're using our civil rights to push this shit. If you want to be the governor, you need to do something about it, because I promise you this, I will not be the last to see of Tish Hyman, okay?
I'm
Thank
going to
you.
protect your government.
All right, I want to hear that. You're very handsome, by the way. The who? There are no trans kids. There are just children. Stop transforming children. No one can make a decision that young. When I was 12, I would have transformed. It's wrong. It's wrong. It's abuse. Don't trans children. It's abuse.
Hey, we need to make a shirt. Don't trans children, okay? I gotta text my wife. This is really good. Don't trans children. I gotta get that going. That is too good. Because that is the problem right there. We are injecting ideas into the minds of children where they don't even have their reasoning factor developed yet. They can't think for themselves. Okay, they're in 100% reaction mode. So, telling them that they're trans is ridiculous. They want to be trans after the age of 18 because they picked up a book or started watching videos and they started talking about this stuff. Go right on ahead. Why can't we give our children a fighting chance? It's already enough that they can't read, they can't write, they're average when it comes to math, they got no skills going into the workforce. That's already enough. And now we want to inject this stuff into their minds? Come on, people. No wonder they are depressed. I mean, let's go. All right, let's see how this wraps up.
Trans kids. There's no such thing. There's only men and women. Use your brains. Stop with
Exactly.
this malarkey.
But I also want you to know, as governor, I am not going to distract the most important issue.
Malarkey. That's exactly what I would call it. That is phenomenal. We need to see more of her. And you know what's interesting? She'll probably vote Democrat anyway. As you heard, she called him handsome. See, this is a problem with, and again, call me whatever you want. This is a problem with women in California, okay? Women start fumbling all over themselves when they see Gavin Newsom. They like his little slick hair and his nice face and how it's all structured, and his nice little smile, and that's what hooks them. So all logic goes out the window when they see him. Is that what's happening with Eric Swalwell too? Remember, this is a guy who slept with a Chinese spy, might I add, and he still is serving as a member of Congress. How does that work? But it was the president who was impeached for allegedly colluding with Ukraine. You guys recall that? And not only that, but then they try to get him on colluding with Russia too, to steal the election from Hillary Clinton. You just can't make this stuff up. You just can't make this stuff up. My wife's like, why are you texting me this? She's not watching right now. I think that's why. Okay. I want to read this or share this message from today's sponsor from Beam. Okay. As you guys know, being in the news and commentary world means your brain never shuts off. I'm constantly researching stories. I'm constantly on my laptop and my mind never shuts off. Okay. I'm telling you, this is why I have to use a product they created called Beam Dream. This is a nighttime drink, by the way. Just so you guys understand, the average time I go to sleep at night is 1 a.m. and sometimes 2 a.m. And for the life of me, I just can't kick it at times. This is why I have to take this drink. And when I don't, I'm a mess the following day, okay? It's slow for me to wake up. I'm a little groggy. So Beam Dream is where you get what you need to have an uninterrupted sleep. We're talking melatonin, magnesium, and other important ingredients. And the whole point to it all is that if you need that nighttime sleep like I do, their Black Friday sale is live right now, which you can get up to 50% off, lowest price it's ever been made. The biggest sale of the year, of course, no secret there. And you can find their nighttime drink in the link in the description below. Just click on that. It'll take you right there. Buy it, try it out for yourself. They have multiple flavors, by the way. So if you're a guy who likes chocolate or cinnamon, whatever, they have a flavor to float your boat. Again, Shop Beam's Black Friday sale, you can get up to 50% off with my link. Or you can go to shopbeam.com/Darkins. No code needed. Discount will auto apply at checkout. Because if you don't get your sleep, you're miserable. Unless your name is President Trump, who literally doesn't sleep, right? Another individual that reminds me of is Kobe Bryant. This guy would only sleep for 4 hours. I mean, I don't know how people do it. If I only slept for 4 hours, you guys don't want to be around me. I'll just tell you that right now, okay? And I wish it wasn't the case. All right. Let's go to Eric Swalwell again. And this is just confirming the problem that we have. Well, the problem California has, okay? I want you to pay attention to this poll from CNN regarding his chances of becoming the next governor, because you saw what his answer was. So he never actually directly answered, what are you doing about boys playing in girls' sports? What are you doing about women playing in men's sports? He had nothing to say. He just kept going to the harassment point. But maybe it's because he wants to be the next governor. And according to the poll, he has a great chance
To be the next governor of California, according to the Kalshi prediction markets. I'm going to spell Kalshi right like this. And what do we see? We see that he's at a 45% chance to, in fact, be the next governor of California. You take a look on October 7th, he wasn't even in the race. It was N.A., Tom Steyer, N.A. Katie Porter led at 40%. She's all the way down now to a 12% chance to be the next governor of California. Her chances have absolutely slide down, and now the two frontrunners are, in fact, Eric Swalwell and, of course, Tom Steyer, the billionaire, 45% and a 24% chance of be the next governor of California, according to the Kalshi prediction.
All right, so 45%. That's craziness. That's craziness. So a guy who slept with a Chinese spy, a guy who supports boys playing in girls' sports, a guy who clearly supports men playing in women's sports, could be the next governor of California. Now, this is what California deserves, because they're going to continue to vote in this direction. I grew up in California. I've seen it happen. A lot of people always ask me the same question: when is enough for California? I don't think they've reached that point yet. I don't think they've reached the breaking point yet. I think people in Southern California, the people who experience these fires, they may vote differently, but they're not going to switch parties, if that makes sense. Okay, it's just not going to happen. And it's because it always starts from a younger age. The school system, mainstream media, Hollywood, all of these industries are dominated in California. Well, what do they all lean towards as far as politics are concerned? Left. And then you have a super majority, okay, in Sacramento. I mean, listen, I will be stunned if a Republican became the governor of California in next year's election. I'd be stunned. I'm telling you right now, I just don't see it happening. And hopefully I'm wrong, hopefully I'm wrong. But at any rate, point being, in regards to this entire story, this guy was clearly dumbfounded. He had no answer to it. They're not going to have an answer to it because they really do believe this stuff, folks. And even if they don't believe it, they won't say the truth because they're trying to get elected. So it's for political gain is why they won't even tell the truth. And I think that kind of tells you the type of person that they are. All right, let's go to Jennifer Say, because she had a great reaction to what happened here.
The three-time World's Strongest Woman champion is Rebecca Roberts. She said this about what happened in Arlington: transgender women, people born male, should not be competing in the women's category. This is not about identity. It isn't about politics. It's about the undeniable physical differences that exist in strength-based sports, differences that don't disappear, and that matter more here, than almost anywhere else. Women's categories were created for a reason, and if we lose that, we lose the foundation of our sport. But that speaks to the overall issue of Title IX was created to protect women in sports. And if you start letting biological males into women's sports, you're basically erasing Title IX.
Yeah, it's not women's sports anymore. The minute one male breaches the barrier of women's sports, and we've seen thousands in the last, I think, 5 years, there's been 3,000 to 5,000 males that have stolen awards from women. And that doubles when you look at team sports. And if there's a male on the team, we do not have a thing as women's sports anymore because men are competing and winning all over the country and all over the world. We need to correct it. There will be no women's sports. You know what? Little girls are going to stop wanting to compete because if they know they don't have a fair shot, why would they? It's not fair. It's not right. It's not political. It's about material reality.
It's about material reality. That's so interesting. Now, Jack Posobiec brings this point home nicely. He got access to leaked text messages from Ruben Gallego, okay? And the interesting part is this Democrat out of Arizona is saying what we just said, which is that in front of a camera, Democrats will say, oh, no, we support trans rights. We believe that women can be men. Okay, we believe they can play in sports. But behind closed doors, most of them don't even believe it. Isn't that interesting? Here are the text messages on the screen. If you guys can see them for yourself, let me just zoom in. Here they are right here. And basically, someone's texting him and saying, been watching all the insanity up there. I think it's time that somebody with a cool head and a solid plan could rise to the top of your party. And he said, oh, man, have you met my party? I've been yelling at them this whole time. I.e., you're getting a lot of great press. Start making the moves. As much of a pain in the ass you are, I believe you could become one who rebuilds and leads them. And then there's a photo of this deranged congresswoman, which has the purple hair, and she's always screeching about something, as you guys may know. Anyways, then it continues. Here it is right here, where the person who's texting him says, this is how the world views many of them. And then he acknowledges, he's like, yeah, they aren't wrong. And then he goes back and says, my point exactly. You've gained the strength and the wisdom. Seems like it's time for you to flex and battle your way to the top of the party. I could become your Republican consultant. And finally, it ends with him saying that, and this is where it really went off the rails. We look like the not fun party, always telling and correcting people, not allowing no men to be men, women to be hot. We used to be the party of drugs and rock and roll. And this person says, exactly, I'm going to crack up when I go to the Capitol Hill Club next time I'm in D.C. and you're there hanging out just so you can hang out with hot, beautiful people. Then here's the bombshell. Now dim women look like dim men, and dim men look like women. So he's willing to say this in private text messages, okay? But he can't say that in front of a camera. Why is that exactly? Because it's who the party has become. They put themselves in this position. They box themselves in a corner where they can't exercise common sense. That's why Senator John Fetterman is an outsider at this point. When he starts to speak about common sense and he's actually against this stuff, they look to primary him. That's why I'm saying these people are slaves in Congress at the end of the day. It's interesting. It's interesting. Now, there's a reaction from Senator Gallego. Here it is.
Turning Point posted some leaked text messages that they say are from you. They point out you criticizing the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
Some text messages say that you point out that dim women are like dim men are like dim women now. Just a response to those text messages.
I mean, it's very heartbreaking that someone that I served with and I've known and been really good friends for 20 years decided to, text message or leak, some of these messages. But I've been very clear about where I think the party needs to be. I do think we have to be an open and bigger tent party. And so this is just a reflection of what everything I've said. So, I'm more sad about the situation that a friend of mine decided to exploit the situation. But it's a reflection of what I've been saying the whole time.
Do you think what does need to change with the Democratic Party? I think the MAGA movement kind of capitalized that. The Democratic Party put out those messages where it's more kind of inclusive, which they thought was obviously a good thing. And
Sure.
It is a good thing. But the Dems...
Well, I actually think the Democratic is not as inclusive as it should be. That's what I'm trying to point out. We should be a party that takes everybody in, that, at least we have certain core values, and we shouldn't be trying to exclude more people. Our tent is getting too small, and we need to actually expand the tent to allow more people in, because I think we all are better as a country when we are actually bigger and not just more narrow when it comes to mind, our thoughts, when it comes to different races, demographics, everything else like that. We need to be a party for everybody.
Well, the interesting thing about that statement from him is that the messaging from Democrats makes people feel narrow. The message from Democrats places people in boxes. I know that because obviously I'm black and I grew up here in America, and I know that half of the messages are all about my skin color instead of just being an American citizen. And so, listen, the solution is they should just blow it up and start fresh, but that's not going to happen right now. What's going to happen is the progressive wing of their party is going to continue to gain more authority, more leverage, because moderate Democrats are going bye-bye. Okay? We'll see if Senator John Fetterman can survive next year. We'll see. That will be an interesting re-election. But right now, the people who are speaking the loudest, the people who are getting the most attention, are the people with the radical and progressive ideals. So it's interesting he's willing to say that in private text messages, but he's not willing to say that out loud and stand on it. And I show that to you because these people are walking hypocrites. They really don't care about trans people, okay, or that whole movement. They only use it as a way to get elected. And for the trans people out there, if you're like hell-bent on the fact that this is a reality, and there's no changing your mind, why aren't you advocating for trans leagues then? I just don't understand that. Isn't that common sense? You want your own space, you want your own respect, you want your own acknowledgement, but you don't want to violate the rights of others, right? Then create your own league. I think it's very simple. Very, very simple. All right, let me see what you guys have to say about this stuff. DeVory, look, it's real simple. The Democrat Party back in the 70s, when I was growing up, was a lot different from what it is today. And what it has become is a dumpster fire of fools. I totally agree. I am in no disagreement with that. Okay, let's see what you guys say on YouTube. Trans League, aka Freak Show. I wish Fetterman lived in California if Democrats let it be him. Yeah, well, not too sure he'll find success in California, honestly. Newscomb looks like a snake to me. I'll take my strong, rugged Texas men who know how to handle a woman. California can keep the snakes. Oh, that's great. All right. Let's see here. We need some people with some damn fortitude like that people from the situation in charge, not sitting on Capitol Hill getting a check when everything's shut down. Yep. At least Gallego refused to do that video of the Seditious Six. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Okay. Oh, I got to refresh this. My chat is freezing here. There we go. Let's see here. Everything is a tool for them. Yeah, 100%. We have a lot of snakes. Adam Schiff, Alex Padilla. Yeah. It's fascinating because even, I think the last name is pronounced Becerra. This guy, he's involved in a federal investigation himself before Trump took office. I mean, these guys, there's some corruption up there. I give you guys a great example of the level of corruption in California. So if we go back, it would be, or 2025, so we'd go back 15 years. Yeah, 15 years. Actually, 17 years. Go back 17 years ago. The main tool that the Army was using to recruit people into the military was student loan forgiveness. Okay? That was the main tool besides a signing bonus. So if you get your degree, we will forgive your loan. Got it. Well, what started to happen was the general, of California, this is in the National Guard section of it. So understand something. There is something called a governor, and essentially the military equivalent to that would be the general who runs the state military department. It's usually a 1-star or 2-star general. Well, this is the first black woman who was a 1-star to be in charge of the California's state military. All right. So she got exposed for essentially taking student loan money and funding it into her own personal bank account. That's one. Two, there was soldiers who joined the military sold on the idea that their student loans would be forgiven. They never were forgiven. They were never paid for because the money was being taken from the people who were in charge of the program. So they were pocketing the money. And then to make things worse, when this was all exposed and people found out about it, they actually froze a lot of people's accounts and also flagged a lot of people in the system. What does that mean? Well, for example, let's say you work in a corporate job right now. Let's say you're the assistant manager, okay? And every year, as long as you're in a good standing and a good status, you have an opportunity to get promoted. Well, when there's an investigation happening from Washington, D.C., everybody's status gets flagged and frozen, meaning you can't get promoted, you can't get additional training, you can't do anything. You got to stay exactly where you're at. That happened for plenty of soldiers for a couple of years. So why do I tell you guys this story? California has been a dumpster fire of corruption for many, many decades now. But people don't know about it because, it's It's California. Nobody wants to talk about it, I guess. The massive corruption scheme that took place in Oakland, that's a whole nother thing. It's just interesting how these stories, they always go untold. They don't want to tell people what's happening because it goes counter to President Trump, right? And that whole narrative. All right. Okay, I think we got time to get to this next story because I briefly wanted to talk about it since we're on this whole culture topic. And that is what Pennsylvania did yesterday. The governor of Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro. So there is a new law called the Crown Act. Its whole purpose is to stop people from discriminating against black people because of their natural hair. Oh man, I got to talk about this. All right, I want you guys to hear this. Let's watch this now.
There's some natural hair in a true state, child.
And Lorraine Seeley-Ruley loves every strand.
I love the feel, the texture.
It's why she opened Island Design Natural Hair Salon in Parkside. But not everyone feels free to embrace their natural hair the way she does.
We have been so conditioned to wear our hair pressed or weaves just to make society or ourselves feel good.
Because discrimination based on hair is a reality.
Someone getting fired simply because of how they look.
And now it's illegal in Pennsylvania.
The Crown Law.
Governor Josh Shapiro signed the Crown Act into law. It outlaws discrimination based on a person's hair. It took 7 years of pushing to pass the legislation in Pennsylvania, led by House Speaker Joanna McClinton.
We are changing the trajectory of the future of our children.
The Crown Law places hair in the same protected class as race under the Pennsylvania Human Relations Act, a relief for people like Tanya Edmonds, who didn't always feel free to wear her hair the way she wanted.
I gauge it depending on who I'm working for, like who's my supervisor.
With bipartisan support, Pennsylvania is the 28th state to have a Crown Law. The woman behind the now nationwide push is a Philadelphia native.
Okay, before we get to her. Oh man, I have to laugh because I'm not trying to insult anybody, honestly, okay? I'm laughing because these are the games they play with the black community politically, okay? We live in a world today where, one, is there any proof that you were fired because of your hairdo or hairstyle? If there is, please show it. Okay, that's number one. Number two, we live in a world today that if a black person gets any level of criticism, they automatically think someone's being racist against them. This isn't all black people, of course, just certain black people of the community who looks at everything from the lens of race and skin color. It's like what happened with CBS when they let go a certain percentage of their employees in the news department. Some of them were Asian, some of them were black, some of them were Hispanics, and they were claiming it was just a form of being racist against them. No, it's not, okay? The word racism has been watered down so much that people literally can't even tell the difference anymore. Now, I don't need some freaking law to justify why I wear my hair the way that I do. But other people out there do. If you need a law to feel confident in your own skin and to express the way you like to look, you already have problems. I don't need anybody validating my skin color. I don't need anybody validating my curls. No one needs to do that. I validated it. Why? Because this is who I naturally am. I don't need some governor or politician pushing some campaign like, hey, you know, we're going to make sure people don't treat you wrong because of your skin color or your hair. Listen, if someone's going to discriminate against me, that's their loss, not mine. Why would I want to work for someone who wants to discriminate against me to begin with? I wouldn't work for that person. So you could create all the laws you want. That doesn't mean it's going to stop people from doing that. And here's my other point, just so you guys understand where I'm at with all this. You would think that if you're going to pass a law based on people's hairstyle, meaning black people's hairstyle, and you want to protect them, why haven't you guys passed a law regarding reparations or affordability? I'm just saying, if we're going to play their logic, we're going to play their game, right? They want to make policies cater to the black community. The only one that black people really care about, especially the loudest ones in the community, are what? Reparations. I just find it interesting. They throw the little crumbs, a little bread here, a little slice there, just to make the black people happy. But they don't go all the way. It's the same thing in California. They just passed a law regarding reparations. Reparations are not going to happen, okay? I just wish black people would rise above all this stuff and start focusing on the future, not the past. There's no doubt that the black community has a past that's different than most. No doubt about it. It's the one community who had to literally create their culture from scratch. If you think about it, every other race or ethnicity that came or immigrated to our country brought their traditions and values with them. Black people didn't. So I get that. But that doesn't mean we need politicians creating policies based on our hairstyles. Come on, let's get real. You're gonna start creating policies for the black community. Why don't you make it more substantial? I'm just following their logic, okay? I'm just going based off the way that they think. I don't believe in this stuff. I don't need a policy. I don't need any laws made for my color, my skin color. I don't need any of that because it always backfires. That's the interesting part about all this. It absolutely backfires because usually it's an overcorrection. There are people who are definitely racist in our country. There are people who are prejudiced. They will discriminate against black people. But you know what's fascinating? Black people are just as racist as well. We can be racist to other cultures. We have been. In fact, we've been racist towards each other because racism is about the power you believe you hold over another ethnic group. Okay, so if you're a dark-skinned black person and you see a light-skinned black person within the own black community, there's issues there. But they don't want to talk about that because that's, hey, DeVory, you need to stop it, right? You got to slow down, man. You're sounding like a coon. Okay, you got to stop because this is what happens. Okay, I'm just telling you guys what the truth is. I tell you guys my upbringing all the time. I went to all white school. I went to all black school. Which population treated me the worst? Which school actually bullied me? It was the black people. They didn't like that I was from California, that I wasn't darker than they were. They didn't like that I spoke proper. They didn't like that. It's just fascinating. That's all I'm saying. It's just nothing but contradictions everywhere you go with this stuff. And Josh Shapiro is just eating it up. Now, let's hear from the woman who is behind all this. Okay, because she has an interesting way of putting it. Okay?
There's some natural hair.
It's necessary to change the law to help redress the long-standing and problematic practice of racial discrimination in the form of hair discrimination.
So with a celebratory hair flip,
So I'm gonna give y'all a little bit of this.
Pennsylvania sends a message.
No matter what you look like, where you come from, who you love, who you pray to, or how you wear your hair, you belong here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
News that this salon owner can't wait to share as she teaches others to love their hair.
It's your crown. Why not wear it?
The Crown Act goes into effect in 60 days. Now, under the new law, complaints of discrimination will be filed with the Pennsylvania Human Rights Commission. There's also a push to make this a federal law. In Parkside, Taronda Thomas, Channel 6 Action News. Brian?
Okay. Yeah. I think Hollywood has made, and I would argue propaganda has made in some way, shape, or form, the black community one of the most insecure communities there are. Totally insecure. It's just fascinating. There's no reason to be. We are all made perfect in God's image. Why are we insecure for? We're insecure because we eat up the negative propaganda from society when we really shouldn't. We don't need validation from politicians. We don't need laws and policies to validate our skin color or hairstyle. We don't need any of that. The only validation you need is in your Lord, Savior, Jesus Christ. That's the only validation. I for the life of me, I don't understand why these people don't get it. They go to church every freaking Sunday talking about how much they love the Lord, but then on Monday, they're acting like a victim. How does that make sense exactly? You're not a victim. That is a lie that has been told through so many different ways in so many different institutions. But I'm not going to convince people who truly believe this, obviously. I know that. I'm literally speaking to the choir right now. I know that. But I could tell you it's just a product of programming. That's exactly what it is. And this Crown Act law is just another example of that. It's crumbs to the real issues that the black community is facing. Our issues is not about being fired over our skin color or our hairstyle. It's affordability, it's housing, it's job creation, things like that. Matter of fact, it's the same things that every other community is facing. Why not focus on issues like that? Well, it's because it's not sexy. It doesn't sell, I suppose. You know, maybe this is their way to get the black vote. I don't know. I really can't make sense of it because I just think it's a violation of all common sense. I really can't reason with it. Maybe you guys can. But yeah, we don't need that. We just don't. Let's see here. Can we agree that if someone has a hairstyle that hasn't been wasted in weeks and the smell is being masked by a fragrance that is gross and others shouldn't have to put up with it? Yeah, I mean, that's just basic hygiene, right? That has nothing, I mean, that's basic hygiene. You know? Let's see here. It disgusts me that people are focused on hair when the real threat is that some people think that waffles are better than pancakes. You're funny. You're funny. You're funny. Yeah. And here's the interesting thing. I know plenty of black people who do not buy into this stuff. There's a lot of them. It's not everybody. Okay. It just, social media makes you believe that all black people are the same. We're not. Okay. We're just like every other community out there. Okay. White people in California are different than white people in Kentucky, as an example. Okay. It's different. All right. People who identify as Hispanic in California are different than Hispanics in Texas. It's just different. So, you know, the same standard applies across the board, which is like the best way to judge someone, if you're going to do it, is just based on results and their character. That's it. Listen, I love black hair. I love natural black hair that is curly. That's my jam. I tell my wife all the time, don't straighten your hair. Don't cut it. Just natural. It's beautiful. Okay. That's your gift. Okay. And guess what? There are white men who have that nice curly hair, the little slick back. That's great too. Right? Everybody has their thing that makes them stand out. Capitalize on that. There's no reason to hide that. Again, it's society that is trying to make us into believing it's a problem. It's not a problem. Okay. Now, obviously, if you're in the military, they want it all shaved off, which is totally the right thing. All right, let's go to YouTube. This is the stupidest law I've ever heard. What is wrong with the black society that thinks discrimination is against their hairstyle? It's just one of those things where you can't really, like, if we really get to the high IQ conversation of it all, someone says, I believe so-and-so is racist because they said this to me. How can you prove that someone is a racist? Is there a way to actually prove that? Is there a way to truly prove that someone is committing, their prejudice or something like that of you? There are ways to prove that. But when pressed on to provide examples, most people can't tell you. Most people can't tell you. Okay. I'll give you a great example. So my brother and I, we had a roofing and solar business. Okay. We were in business with these other people and it ended badly. Okay. These people were not great at business. We clashed every single day. It was a struggle. So then we said, hey, we're just going to go do our own thing. Well, that meant we had to go out there and get our own warehouse, our own vehicles, etc. So I applied for warehouses and I probably saw at least, 8 of them, at least. It was a lot. And I applied, and these places were vacant, by the way. And they wouldn't, they're like, nah, or they wouldn't get back to me. They wouldn't return my call. And if we stop right there, the initial thought, the initial reaction that's been programmed with black people would be, oh, they don't want to rent to a black person. That's the initial thought. Because that's what's been passed down from one generation to the next and continues to be amplified today. But that wasn't my initial thought. You know what my initial thought was? Oh, well, that means God has a better warehouse for me somewhere else. And you know what's fascinating? These warehouses were a lot of money. Let's just say that. We found a warehouse, or the warehouse found us, really, through a mutual friend. Half the price, not far. And the owner of the property, nice guy. But the problem with society today, and particularly sometimes in the black community on these particular issues, they race to believe that someone's committing racism against them. When really it's like, hey, don't you give any room for God? Don't you believe he knows what he's doing? That's why he designed us this way. We're flawed, okay? We have free will. And people use that time to play the victim and think someone's trying to stop them from being successful. Listen, nobody in this world can stop you from being successful except yourself. God has already laid it all out for us. Success is our birthright. The problem is we allow the devil to get into our minds and tell us why we can't be successful, whether that is based on your hairstyle, whether that is based on your skin color, whether that is based on what your last name is. That's all a bunch of nonsense. Every single day, someone who didn't have anything handed to them, someone who came from the bottom, someone who came from the gutter, someone who came from the ghetto, someone who came from prison, someone who murdered someone and got out of prison is being successful today. Someone who has no legs, can't walk, lives in a wheelchair, has found success today. What's your excuse exactly? And I just saw this video of a 78-year-old woman run a full marathon, broke the record. There is no such thing as I can't. There is no such thing as I cannot be successful because of the system, the white man, my hairstyle, my skin color. That is negative thinking. It has no return on investment when we think this way. If you're facing resistance, it's necessary. There's growth that is occurring as a result. You have to go through these things to get to where you need to go. You're not just going to be handed on a silver platter success. It doesn't work that way. And I wish this would be the message that if we're going to push propaganda to people, push this instead. Because the results show that it doesn't matter how many certifications you have, what college you went to, what your last name is, whether your parents were rich or your parents were poor, or you came from India, or you're a black person, we're all going to end up in the same place. This body is going to end up in the dirt one day. So you might as well get around to doing things that are going to help you become successful, and thinking that way won't. All right, I think we're at the end here. I appreciate you guys joining us live today. Tomorrow is obviously Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving. We won't be live tomorrow, but we will upload some stories, if there are any, tomorrow worth talking about. But I just want to, I guess in the spirit of Thanksgiving, I want to give you my thanks because you guys show up here every day. Give me your attention. That's the best way to support the channel. We do pride ourselves on common sense commentary for these uncommon times. So my expectation is that you are getting value. And if you are, again, the best way is to like, share, and subscribe. All right. With that said, God bless you, and God bless the United States of America. Take care, everyone, and have a happy Thanksgiving.